ready? We're gonna be talking about the books that we read in June, right? Right? I'll let you go. Hi friends, Vika here with my boy Ronnie. Today we're gonna be talking about the books that I read this month. Oh, he's fine. This month of June. So this month of June, I read a total of 8 books. Yeah, 8 books, 5 physical, 3 audiobooks, and let's just get started. So one of the first books, or short stories, shall I say, I read this month was The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. I didn't know that this was a short story. It's like 70 pages max. I mean, this has other short stories by this author, so that's why this is so big as it is. But I recommend it as a good starter classic for anyone interested in starting to read more classes, because it is short story. The writing isn't very old. Shall I say it's easy to read, and I recommend it. I gave it 4 stars. I loved seeing, so this book is more like about the duality of human nature and how we have a good side and a bad side and things that'll bring up those different natures within us, and I loved it. I really did. I gave it 4 stars. My only complaint was that it was too short. Like, you didn't see much character development or story development because it was like maybe 70 pages max. So I wish I would have seen more character development, I guess, and more like hints and like showing what had happened. But it was super interesting. I recommend. It's only like 70 pages long, so you can sit that down and read it in like one sitting. And the writing style is very easy to follow. It is very good and nice prose, and I did enjoy it. But it is a little old-timey in the way that it's a little sexist, but I mean, what do you expect? So the next book that I read this month was Muse of Nightmares by Laini. I actually got my hands on an ARC copy. I didn't know it was an ARC when I purchased it, but it is. It's not much different from the final version, so to speak, I'm assuming. And also on it, it says that Laini Taylor's from Portland. I didn't know that. That's very interesting. That's very cool. But about the story, I gave this book 4 stars, I believe. I had a love-hate relationship with this book and this series in general. I will put a series review up in the coming weeks because I feel like I want to talk more about it and with like spoilers. So this following bit is not going to be really spoiler-y, so you can continue watching if you'd like. So Muse of Nightmares is the second book in a duology, and I gave it 4 stars. And I really did like the writing style of this book. I loved how the author writes. It's very lyrical, very prosy, and the world building was great. It was so magical and it's just uplifting. But the thing is, I was more interested in the side stories in this book. Particularly, it was so interesting, intriguing, and I wanted more and more and more. And I was just feel like I'm going through the main character, like Laszlo and Sarai's stories. Just to get to the next part, to learn more about the other things that happened in the different time periods and whatnot, like, and the building and setting up of this world. So on the other note, I hated the romance in this book. I absolutely hated it. It's like this YA new adult has a tendency to throwing in insta-love, and there was an insta-love in this series. If you read the first book, you know what I'm talking about. And then in this book, you know, when there's gonna be issues, obviously, with any romance in any series whatsoever. There's never any solid, you know, relationship example. Not never, but it seldom happens. And this book, it's the same thing, and it's just, you know, when the characters have only known each other for like a week, and then there's random ultimatums, and you think people would sacrifice other people's lives just for someone that they're in love with and have known for a week. And I was so angry and livid reading this. Like, it made me so frustrated. I had to put this down for like a whole week. I had to rant to like 3 different people, and they heard a lot about it. I kind of had it out of my system, not really, because you can tell I'm still a little bit frustrated. So I really did not like that element, and along with the romance, there was a lot of unnecessary steamy scenes in this, like very unnecessary, quite regularly. It kind of just ruined the story for me. I couldn't get into it. It just, I don't know, when there's unnecessary romance scenes that are kind of very vivid, no me gusta, is all I gotta say. no me gusta. But I did enjoy the world. I did, also this book did take an unexpected turn that I didn't see coming, and I was pleasantly surprised with it. I will recommend that. It had a good ending to the series, and it was great. It just left off on a positive note. Besides all the romance element stuff, I do recommend this series. So one of the audiobooks that I listened to this past month was Lean In by Sharyl Sanderson, and I gave that 4 stars, 3.5 stars, something like that. It's basically the full title is Lean In, Woman, Work, and the Will to Lead, I think it is. So basically it just covered the challenges and difficulties women face in the workforce and advancing their careers. It also backs it up with like statistics, and it says what women and men can do to help narrow like not only the wage gap, but also just like the gap in leadership between men and women. This was written by the current COO of Facebook, Sharyl Sanderson, and she's a billionaire, and she's succeeded in her field, shall I say. She's also been like a huge member of Google also, and yeah, just this woman who I guess has it figured out on how to, you know, lead companies and advance her career, whatnot. But what was kind of like, she is a billionaire, so some of her stories are kind of unrelatable. Like she's talking about how her kids had lice on a private jet, and I was like, a lot of us aren't gonna fit this, but like there are good anecdotes, there are good examples. It's backed up by facts and studies, and I recommend it for women who are trying to advance in their field and who are thinking about going careers but are also contemplating like families, I guess, and also for men to see the kind of challenges that women face that aren't really brought to light, like just like for future things. It isn't only wage gap, like it doesn't really talk, it does talk about that, but that's like a little thing. It's more about like how like a lot of the CEOs and COOs are males, and there only a small percentage of them are females, and why, and the certain things that women have to do and sacrifice that men don't necessarily have to, and the benefits of, you know, mending that gap kind of thing. Yeah. Makes sense? Makes sense. So the next book that I read this month of June, I read Garden City by John Mark Comer. He's a pastor in Portland, and basically this is about work, rest, and the art of being human. So this was a good book. I think I gave it like 3 stars, 3.5 stars, and it definitely puts things into perspective. It brought up things that I didn't really consider, how humans were basically made to work, and what to do with that, and how to rest, and the Sabbath and stuff like that. The thing is, what really bugged me, I mentioned this in my previous video, but was the spacing. There's a lot of spacing in here. Maybe the author purposely does that so you can take notes or something, but also in between the chapters you have this like, I don't know about you guys, but that really irritates me. That's such a waste of paper, especially with all of that spacing. This book could have been like 50 pages shorter just because of that. And what I didn't like about this was it kind of was a little redundant. The author repeated himself quite a lot. He noted that the writing style is a bit informal, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, different people have different preferences. Some people might think that as a plus, makes it more approachable. Some might think this is a negative. I don't know. It's really up to preference. But I guess I would recommend this. It wouldn't be my first choice if you're trying to like learn more about God or Jesus, but if you just want to learn about the specific, like what Earth was supposed to be like, I guess, in a biblical sense, and what we can do and what we should be doing as, you know, workers, I guess, as humans. I would be interested in reading more John Mark Comer, because this was like a good start, I guess. It was very approachable. It was super easy to read, flew by. That's also because of the spacing of the pages. I keep throwing shade, but I'm really irritated. It's so wasteful, so wasteful. But yeah, that's about it. If you're interested, read it. If not, don't. So the next book that I read this past month is A Series of Unfortunate Events, The Wide Window by Lemony Snicket. This is the 3rd book in the series. I do one every month, and this is so far my favorite one in the series. It was frustrating. It was you know, the way that Series of Unfortunate Events goes. I feel like it's the writing and the story is getting a little bit more mature, as I'm assuming, you know, as people read this, like they're growing up a bit more, and so they can handle a bit more. And so I know by the end of the series it's probably going to be a lot more I don't know, but the thing is, I know I'm going to be so frustrated by the end. I'm so happy that I'm just reading one book a month, because I feel like that's all I can stomach. Sometimes I do have to put this down because it's just like so easy to read, because it is a middle grade novel, and it kind of like makes my brain go on to snooze, and I'm not actually processing anything. But I do enjoy it, I do like it, and I'm excited to read the next book. So the next book I read this month was Make Your Bed, Little Things That Can Change Your Life and Maybe the World by Admiral William H. McRaven. This was a book that my book club had chosen to read, and it's super short. It also does that page spacing thing that I hate. I didn't even see that. It does that spacing things that I hated from, you know, the other book, The Garden City. Waste a lot of paper. This is only like 115 pages long, and it is super tiny. It's like the size of my face. I did not enjoy this at all. I gave it 2 stars, and one of those stars is just because I think this guy's a hero and he's super impressive. But the thing is, a lot of the advice that this author gives is super general and elementary. It's like, don't judge, don't quit, don't complain, just things like that. The first chapter started with a lot of promise, and then I was just, the more I read, the more disappointed it is, and I was like, I just chugging along just to finish this for the sake of my book group. But this wouldn't have been a book I picked up on my own for sure. But if you are interested in like anecdotes about Navy SEALs, like during the training process and whatnot, I would recommend this book, just if you want to read those stories. This is super short, and it'll take you like 2 hours max to read the entire thing. But if you do want to hear his advice, maybe just read the very last 15 pages of what his University of Texas commencement speech was, because this is what this book is based upon, is his commencement speech that he gave to University of Texas. And then he elaborated with more anecdotes to provide examples, and it was so, I don't know, it was just like I could have read an Instagram post and got the same amount of inspiration kind of thing. No hate, but hate. Also, this book is like $14, so it's like literally $14 for 2 hours of experience. Like, that's not worth it at all. No offense, but it's not, it really isn't. Yeah, he's still an impressive dude. He's SEAL training is something I could never accomplish, but I don't think that doesn't change the fact that a lot of his advice is super elementary, and it kind of is like a blech read. Yeah. So the next 2 books that I read / listened to this past month was The Runaway King and The Shadow Throne by Jennifer Nielsen. I gave those books 2 stars and 1 star respectively. This series, I read it back in January or December, or listened to the first book, which was, no, The False Prince, and it had promise. I think I gave it like 3 stars, 3.5 stars. I was like, okay, this is probably just like a shaky intro book, and I'm excited to see where the series goes. But the rest of the series was A, super predictable, and B, I hated the characters, like especially the main character. He was just, I don't know, I just hated him. He was super annoying. He thought he knew everything, and the whole story was improbable and just predictable overall. I DNF'd the third book with like 25% left to go, so I was like 3/4 of the way through, and I was just like, I literally cannot stomach reading this. I know what's gonna happen. I literally do not care. I hated the love interest too. She was super annoying, and the whole thing was just super predictable. I don't like, the author threw in way too many clues, and it's just like, come on, like, come on. If you want to shock us, maybe throw like its and bits, and yeah, I don't know. I just don't recommend it. I feel like this story has been done 1,000 times, and you can find so much better like fantasy / like Broken Kingdom, falling apart, going to war stories than this. Like, really. That's just being honest, you know, not every book you read is going to be great, and those are my tastes, and if you are interested or have like this series, good for you. Like, it didn't work for me. That's about it. So those are the books that I read this past month of June. Let me know what you think. Have you read any of these? Do you agree with my thoughts? Do you not agree with my thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you guys all soon. Bye.